All right, we are live, and thank you. It's 1:06. We had some challenges getting here at 1 o'clock, but we are here with two of our wonderful, beautiful guests, among many. Happy Father's Day to everyone. And if you have had the benefit of having a father in your life, you are doubly blessed. You are blessed to have had what I believe is God's representation in the earth about how he would treat his children from father to children. And the Bible even says that how much more our Heavenly Father would take care of us than our earthly fathers. But we've got some earthly fathers who have and are doing an exemplary job of fatherhood. So happy Father's Day to all of you. Marcus Holmes, as you may know, and this is the Love and Stuff edition of our Father's Day celebration. And I have two of my favorite people on this planet here. I'm so grateful to have them, and we're expecting some other guests as well. And I grabbed some photos. I didn't get a photo of your dad in this clip that I made, but sure, I got a few photos of you and your dad in the clip that I made that I'll run at the end. That was going to be my opener, but I'm so excited to have you here and to talk to you about your dads. Ivo, your dad that I have known from Dexter Avenue growing up there, Lonnie Thomas, was a great singer and a great man. And your tribute to him that I just replayed from last year has over 72,000 views. It's the second highest view that I've had ever on Love and Stuff in the 3 years. And I just, I was going through the clips and it made me tear up again. So I said, I better use this again. And I did, and 72,000 and counting have viewed it. And I'm like, wow. And so I want to talk to you about why you think that tugged on the hearts of people like us. And then Cheryl, this morning being in worship, I was like your dad, trying not to just cry and bawl. It's a very sensitive day for me. As you know, Autumn's mom passed on Father's Day. And then the next Father's Day, my dad didn't live to see another Father's Day. So it's a touchy day. But your dad, the Lord brought him through this COVID, and he was named Father of the Year, and he had requested a song. It just happened to happen together that the song he requested we were able to do today. And so, he was his remark that he was over there in tears. I was like, I'm in tears too. And so both very special dads. I want you to talk to us about your dad. They are so special. And I know that fathers have this thing with their girls. They have a great thing with their sons, but it's something about daddies and their daughters. And so I want you to talk a little bit about that as I'm going to bring in another guest to just join us. But I want to hear from you. I'll start with you, and then I'll go to Cheryl Swacker-Cornell. So Ivo?
Yes.
Can you hear
dear,
me?
Marcus, you froze just a little bit.
Uh-oh.
I can hear you again. Yes.
Okay, cool.
So I didn't hear what you asked or how you framed the question. I'm sorry.
So I
didn't want to miss anything.
About your dad a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your dad. And also, like I said, you've got 72,000 views. Why do you think that resonates so with people?
I think that particular story resonated with people because it was impossible. And it was a Father's Day story. I was visiting my dad, I believe it was the first Father's Day away after I got married. And it was the last Father's Day that all of his children would be together. We just didn't know it at the time. Mm-hmm. And I told you before I lost my wedding because we left my bag at the bus station. And when we went back, the bag was gone. So we're crying, panicking. And he just knew that he could go get it. So he said, no, I'll go get it. Like, how? It's lost in town, Detroit. How? He just had that level of faith. And he brought it back. We still, to this day, have no idea how he found it, who he talked to, but he did it. And it increased everybody's faith. It was just such a beautiful gesture on Father's Day by my father. And it was representative of how our Heavenly Father takes care of us, even when we think it's completely impossible and nobody can do anything to help. Our Father is there saying, I can help. I can do it if you can just believe. Awesome. And that's what my dad did. But my whole life has been like that. He prophesied my birth. My mother did not know she could have children. The doctor told her to stop trying because she had miscarried so many children. And my father said, no, my wife is going to have a daughter. My wife is going to have a child. excuse me. And everyone at their church thought he was crazy and was like, stop trying to be Abraham. You're doing the most. And here I am, and I have 2 younger siblings.
Wow.
He was in a great faith. Great faith.
Wow. All right. I want to go to you, Cheryl, and just tell us a little bit about your relationship with your dad, and especially because in the season of COVID-19, this unprecedented time, your dad contracted the virus and was in the hospital, and thanks be to God, God brought him out of the hospital. So tell us a little bit about you, and we call him Skip, but Arliss Swacker.
Everyone calls him Skip. He wouldn't mind Skip at all. My dad and I have a very close personal relationship, familial relationship. But I think that this COVID experience especially affirmed that we have an intensely spiritual experience. During this entire experience, I had the full believing that my earthly daddy was with my heavenly daddy. That's the way I had approached it. That's the way that I had, and it wasn't a method or a mechanics of it. It was what I honestly and thoroughly felt in my spirit. When my daddy came out, my dad was on a ventilator for 6 weeks. He was in the hospital for 8 weeks, wow. On a ventilator for 6 weeks, unconscious during that time. Until like the day before, like 1 or 2 days, but 2 weeks shy of maybe 6 weeks shy of maybe 1 or 2 days. But during that time, we couldn't talk to my dad, and I was very concerned about that. So I talked to the heavenly daddy about my earthly daddy. What has blown my mind is since he has come out and he's reconnecting with people, my dad was on a phone call in the car in my hearing, and he started speaking verbatim about a very personal conversation that I had with God about him. And he said, yeah, Cheryl said, and I said, and Cheryl said, and I was like, wait a minute, how in the world? Because I know what I talk about, but I hadn't mentioned that to my dad. But I did ask him when he became conscious, and he still was on the vent. I said, Daddy, have you heard me talking to you? I've been talking to you every day. And he nodded his head. So, but when he said Cheryl said, and then God said, and then Cheryl said, in the back of my mind, God, that was me and you talk. Eddie hear that. And so when I told my sister said, oh yeah, he's Daddy said that he heard you. And so when I revisited the conversation with my dad, and I said, Daddy, when you were telling, the friend about this conversation, and I'll tell you what the conversation was. I had asked God not to hurt my daddy and not to take my daddy. And I added to that, I trust you. And I believe that my dad is with you. So whether you take my daddy or if you let him live, I still trust you. God's response to me was, he's not in pain, and I'm not taking him. I'm working on him. And I shifted in my prayer to do your work. Just do your work, Lord. And then I started naming physical things. My dad is blind in one eye because of a stroke. And I was like, fix that eye too, Daddy. Fix all of that stuff. But Daddy had told this lady about this conversation. Sure, or not to hurt me and not to kill me. And he said he wouldn't. And he said that he was working on me. And I'm like, that's exactly what the conversation was. But oh yeah. And he said, God was holding my hand and he was talking to me. And then he turned to talk to you.
Wow.
And even though people will see us, because me and my dad are 2 peas in a pod, I am truly my daddy's child. I just look like my mama. But they tag it as a daddy's girl thing, but it's not it's a daddy's girl thing, but it's something else. Because in our follow-up conversation, I said, Daddy, you are describing a conversation. He said, you've been saying since you were a little girl that you always talk God, or you'll say that God says something to you, but I never had an experience where I didn't deny your experience, but I didn't know your experience. Mm-hmm. But in this, what my daddy is calling adventure, that in my adventures, I kept hearing you talk to me, and
Wow.
I kept hearing you talk to God. So, both of my daddies were like just kicking it with me the whole 8 weeks,
Wow.
in their own way. And it didn't surprise me. I felt like Mary. I believe that Mary was familiar with the angels
Mhm.
when she was told that she would have the Christ, because she's the only one that I have found in scripture that is not recorded as being afraid when the angel greeted her.
Mm.
She thinks the greeting is strange, but she never responds in a level of fear that you read about other people who have encounters with angels.
Mhm.
But the spiritual aspect of God does not shock me or surprise me. But I don't talk about it on the level that I experience it, because you don't sound, to other people, you sound crazy. And I know I ain't crazy, so I just don't talk. But my dad said I had not known the experience, but I know that you have them. I can't refute or deny it. He said, but now I know, and I'm over here today. And, just rubbing his shoulders while he was guessing that it was him during our Father of the Year presentation.
Mhm.
But last night he said, people don't know. I don't even know how to tell people how real God is. And I don't even know if you even believe the extent to which I'm telling you that I had this experience with God. And I'm like, yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna don't
he's real.
go back to the both of you. I'd let you out to let in somebody else on this particular platform, but I do want you to think about this question. What's the one most important lesson that you have learned from your father? So marinate on that. I'm gonna pull you out so that I can let Richard Dickey join us along with Ernest, who is already here. Thank you, ladies. Stick around, but I want you to come back. But I want you to think on that question. What's the one important lesson, maybe the most important lesson that you've learned from your dad? All right, so much.
Okay.
All right, so I'm doing a new platform. Y'all hang in there with me. All right, so now we have Ernest Sisson Jr. And he is
Hey, what's going on?
beautiful. These are some beautiful girls. I'm looking
Okay.
at all of the pictures that you sent to me, and I'm going to play a clip of that a little later. But introduce your daughters,
Okay.
please.
All right, this is my beautiful daughter, Chelsea. She is 5 years old. This is my beautiful daughter, Chloe. She is 7 years old. Born on the same day, November 21st. So we already have this.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, hello, little ladies. How are you both?
Good.
Good. And so you're here with your dad today. Is he a great dad or what?
Yeah.
Yes. And tell me, what do you
I
love
love that.
about your dad? What do you love about your dad?
He's nice.
He's nice. Okay. What else? Anything else?
Is there more?
He's
That's gotta be
fun.
He's fun.
All the time.
Okay. Because he takes a lot of pictures, doesn't he? He takes a lot of pictures.
Yeah.
And he sent some pictures to me that had you having, looks like a lot of fun. So tell me some of the fun things you like to do with your dad.
Ride our bikes.
Cool.
And bike.
Well,
for that.
Go to work with our dad.
oh, you get to go to work with him.
Yeah.
How cool is that? How cool is that? So Ernest, tell me, I know you'll give us a tribute to your dad, but how does it
Absolutely.
feel to be a dad of such beautiful girls?
Oh my goodness, it's definitely amazing. I remember before when I first found out we're having girls, I was completely freaked out about it just from all the stories I hear about the money it's going to cost to maintain the lifestyle for them and clothes and all this other stuff. But it actually turned out to be quite change it for. I wouldn't change it for the world. Like it's an amazing experience. So
And do you find yourself doing things with them or saying things to them that your dad said to you?
But I would say um, a lot that my dad said to me was just like not to give up, and you know, a lot of times where they try it again, and that's those are pretty big to keep them strong. So
Okay. All right. So it's about your dad.
about my dad, oh boy, my just I mean we're pretty much the same person. He's actually I learned photography from him. Got you know just watching him do weddings growing up. He was always handy with his hand. Go figure. I own a hardwood floor business now. So a lot of things about him I've definitely picked up just from he never really taught me this stuff, but I just kind of just sitting back watching him growing up. Um, how he you know how he interacted with people. It's like the whole city knows who he is. I think it's just based off his character. He's definitely a good man, honest man, and has always been there for people. I would definitely say that.
Okay. And what would you say is one of the most important lessons that you have learned from your dad that you will, I know you mentioned you said never give up, but what's another important lesson that maybe he has shared with you?
Um, whew, never. Gosh, I never give up one's a big one. That's another important lesson. I would say is to treat people that you like you want to be treated. Um, and always look out for people, even if they don't look out for you.
Hmm.
He's definitely I've seen him throughout the years take care of a lot of people that weren't you know able to take care of themselves. He goes way out of his way to make sure he attends every funeral. If someone needs a pall to be a pallbearer, he's even if he barely knows anybody, he's there. He's one of them kind of
My
people
mother
that
did not know she could
you
have
can
children.
always count on. So always can count on.
Mhm. Okay. All right. I'm just trying to make sure your photo is still showing. I hear your voice, but we're having some difficulty though. So that's why I'm pausing for a second. All
Okay,
right.
no problem.
Okay. You are spotlighted. Okay, cool. All right. What would you say to fathers who are not connected to their children? And since you've
Oh,
had your father and you are now a father, what might you say to someone who's not connected to their children?
I would definitely say if you have the opportunity to get connected or to get back involved in your child's life, do that immediately. Um, as I look back now, and it's cliche to say when people always say time goes by, what happened? You know what happened? I remember when they were this. It's the truth. It's just like time does not wait for anybody. So if there's an issue between you and your ex-wife, your mother, or the mother of the child, I mean, try to fix it. If that doesn't work, I mean, if it doesn't work between you two, at least try to make it so you can have a relationship with your kids because they definitely need their dads. It's important for them to know where they come from and who they are. So I would definitely say make that connection and do it
What's
quick.
that?
Okay, fantastic. I've got Richard Dickey Mason joining us, and hopefully he is here with one of his daughters. Can you hear me, Richard Dickey? He's frozen.
Uh-oh.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay, good, good. All right, and welcome. We're talking to Ernest and these beautiful daughters, your fathers as well. Happy Father's Day to you as well.
Thank you, thank you.
And,
Thank
and
you, appreciate that.
before I have you chime in, Ernest revealed to me that he's getting ready to be a dad again. So what's that feeling like? Are you hoping for another girl? Do you know the sex already?
Yeah, it's another girl. So I'm in trouble.
Are you going to keep
But
trying
yeah,
until you get a boy?
no, well, I'm done. It's a wrap.
Babies.
It's a wrap.
Okay. And have you all decided on names? Are your girls going to have some input in names, or how fun is that, girls? You're going to be a big sister. Are you all ready to be a big sister?
Yep, and we have decided the name. Her name's going to be Serenity.
Oh,
So
beautiful.
that's exciting. So
And so, girls, are you ready to be big sisters?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. What do you think you'll do once your big sister, or once your little sister gets here, once Serenity gets here?
Okay.
You'll play with. Oh, very good. And you'll help. Will you help change diapers? Do you think you'll help change diapers?
Yeah.
You will. I expected you to tell me no, but that's good. You'll be a good helper then. That's great. Okay, so I want to pivot a little bit and talk to you, Dickie Mason, actor extraordinaire, entrepreneur, as Ernest, entrepreneur, both in hardwood finishing, which I'm going to have to hire him to do some work for me, and the photographer that I go to when I think of photography and someone who can capture the shots that I need. It's Ernest. I often think of him, and so both of you are businessmen. Rearing families, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about that before we switch out guests to come in. Richard, now is your daughter with you?
Yeah, she's right here. This is my oldest daughter.
Hello.
Okay. Now for my screen, I'm not seeing her yet. Oh, my screen for some reason has a little delay. A little bit more. Oh yes, you're beautiful. You must have taken after your mom. No, I'm too-
Yeah.
You're beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, your dad sent some pictures, which I'm going to use in our closing clip, but they don't do justice for you. You're beautiful. And so tell me about your
thank
dad. Your dad be a real go-getter. What's that impact on you about being a go-getter? You know, he does everything. He does movies and TV and hookah lounges and everything. How has that impacted you about, you know, what you can accomplish in life?
It's definitely impacted my whole life. It's definitely been like the driving force why I've gotten into the entertainment industry myself. Whether it's modeling, acting, doing music. I've really learned to be very versatile. Like from him, as you can see, he can be multiple different characters. He can act in various different roles. So I just feel like he has just inspired me just to life and get whatever I want, basically. There's no limits on life at all. And I don't know, I just live by that every day, and I've gotten that from him. So yeah, it's really inspired my whole life. Yeah.
Wow. And can you tell us a little bit, like when you were younger, because how old are you?
I'm 20.
Okay. So was he tough in the teenage years? Because, you know, I'm sure the young men were trying to support you. So how was your dad in your teenage years? Though 20, you're still
I would say,
teenage, but
yeah, I would say he was a very good example as a man to begin with. So I already had that standard originally. So I already kind of knew what I wasn't going to go for, wasn't going to accept. And he wasn't like super tough as like, you can't date that person. It was already like, okay, we already know this person isn't going to be a good choice. So, and he's been very good at just giving advice and having just a male perspective as well. But I just feel like him allowing me and my sister to be able to pursue our dreams and to be able to live life freely, I feel like that's a very good trait as a parent. Yeah.
And what would you say is the most important lesson that you've learned from your dad?
I've learned to never give up and to always, you know, make sure your energy is being maintained. Never lose your energy because you're going through a bad moment. Always maintain who you are in your and make sure you're vibrating very highly. And never give up. Always, you know, if a door isn't open for you, that's just not your door. But if you keep moving, you keep going, doors will open up for you. So that's what I've learned from him.
Wonderful. Excellent. Richard, I want to ask you, I mean, you got an amazing daughter, probably two, haven't met the other one yet, but two amazing daughters. How does that feel to have invested into them and watch them blossom into productive young people? How does that feel?
it's good, man. But it's kind of weird because I still see my little girls. So it's like even though they're like 5'10", 5'11", like, but I still see my little girls, and so seeing them come into their own, seeing them growing up, seeing them, and being able to, just continue to be able to pour into them like on a different level, just like from raising them to like because so
Mhm.
as they're becoming young adults,
Mhm.
still pointing to them. And one of the things that came to me the other day was like it's weird when they go from being your kids to your friends. So when you're able to like really like have some real conversations with them, and really see who they are as a person, and be able to like still kind of like aid and give them advice and on a whole different level. It's not just like as a dad, like this is what I'm telling you what to do, this is what you should do, but it's like this is what you're now going through and this is what you're experiencing,
Mhm.
and giving your feedback on that, which
Mhm.
is a whole different perspective, a whole different relationship being
Mhm.
built. So it's super cool though.
Yeah. I want to ask the both of you because it what we're seeing here, of course, is a snapshot of your life. Seems like you have amazing daughters, both of you, and you are really fulfilled by the role of fatherhood. So I want to ask you this question. Why are there so many fathers then that don't want to be in this role? It seems like you are very happy to be dads, very happy to have been present. Looks like part of the fruit is coming to pass of those um, of your offspring. Why would dads not be present? Why do you think dads are not present?
Man, I don't know. I don't know how you create life and bring it into the world and not hold it down. Like I've never been, and some people, I hear, that, I'm different, or, we're rare, and so I really don't understand it. I ride for my daughters, man. I am, anybody that know me, I am Liam Neeson when it comes to my kids, man. Like I'll do anything for my girls, and ain't nothing, anything happen to them, I'm there, and so I don't understand. I guess I don't get it, but once again, I was raised by that type of father, man. My dad had my back, man. There's some, like, my sense, this, not just me being here, it is has a great deal to do, has to do with him, but like me still being alive, man. Some of the things that I've experienced, some things I went through, some of the things I had to survive growing up, and my dad, like, was kicking down doors, man, for me. So, I think a big part of it is that I was raised, with a father that was like that. So I passed to it, because I remember just being a kid saying, my dream was to be a dad like my dad,
Mm.
and all of a sudden one day it just was a reality that I was like that. I just looked at my surrounding. I'm like, man, I am like my dad when it comes to being a provider and being a protector and being just an all around utility guy. Just able to like do a little bit of everything. Um, I think it came from him. That was my example. So that's what he poured into me, and that's what I'm pouring into my girls. So it wasn't ever an option to not be active. Even when I went through a divorce, I still saw my daughters for a moment. For a brief moment, we were sharing custody, and then I ended up getting them full time. But when we were sharing custody, I saw my girls every single day. Every single day, I changed my work. I changed my whole life schedule to make sure I saw my girls every single day. That was like, it was not an option to not see them, and we prayed every single. That was what we did. Like, but that's supposed to do as a man, as a father.
Mhm. Mhm. And Ernest, what about you? Why do you think that? I mean, your girls seem to be so well adjusted, seem to adore you. I've looked at the number of pictures. I mean, and you got tons of pictures of them. You would as a photographer, but as a proud dad, why do you think more fathers aren't actively engaged in the lives of their children?
From I don't know exactly why, but from the excuses I hear, I hear nothing but excuses about their past relationship, or if they weren't, if they weren't really connected with the person that they were dealing with or whatever, they just want to kind of walk away, take the easy route out. But yeah, like, I mean, once like you said, like giving life to your, when you see your daughters or your son, and and that's a part of you. How do you walk away from that? That's it's crazy, like how people can do that, or like you said, I can't do, like if it was a week, I'm going crazy if they're on vacation with their mother. You know, could I not see them, or if I don't have a conversation with them. I mean, it could be a day and I don't have a conversation, and I'm just kind of lost without them. But yeah, I really don't have the answer as far as why. I mean, why men do that, but it's just, like I said, if you can make that connection back with whoever you were with or with your children, you gotta do it quick, because this they grow quick, and they're gonna have their opinion about you after a while. So
Yeah, that's a great point. And I know that both of you have had to navigate, separating from mothers, to the extent that you want to share any of that. How difficult has that been? And it appears that it's not something that's been so difficult that you would allow it to keep you from your daughters, which I think is an important thing to say as well. So, how have you had to navigate being not in relationship with this, if you care to share?
I mean, for me, I mean, we at first it was rocky, but at the end of the day, we both kind of came to the agreement that at the end of the day, they're what matters. They have to. If we keep bickering and going back and forth, it's just going to affect them at the end of the day. So we just came to an agreement that we'll focus on them, and that was it. There's no fighting. There's no back and forth. If she wants to take them camping or on vacation a certain time, we do 50-50 joint custody. So, but if she wants them on my time, we just handle that, outside of court or whatever it is, and just make it that happen that way. So we just focus on them and what's going to make them what's going to make them happy. So.
Mhm. Okay. And what about you, Richard Dickey?
I mean, I guess like unfortunately in my story, I stayed in my marriage way longer than I would have for my daughters. So it's always been about my girls. So I was in it. And so when it separate, when we separated and went through the divorce, stuff like that, it was still all about, my girls. It was all about establishing a life and future for them. So, even during the divorce, I went for full custody, and I get to see how horrible the system treats fathers, and I went through that whole process. But I mean, it wasn't a day that didn't go by that I wasn't fighting for my girls full time. So it took me 4 years to end up getting them full time. But that's what it's always been about my daughters. I was unfortunately married way longer than I probably should have been. But when that was over with, that's why I was there with my girls every day, making sure, I bought another house so that my girls could have something that they could call their own, and so, so that's so it wasn't, so I guess for me, it's been always about my girls. So.
Okay. All right. Any advice that you would provide, Dickey, to dads that are not connected to their children?
Yeah, man, like this your seed. This is what you planted into the earth. Like, this is like you will reap what you sow into your children. So, they're your legacy. They're an example uh of what you've poured into them, and there'll be a result of what you poured into them at the same time too. So I mean, I think it's extremely important that any fathers that don't have a relationship with their children, to do whatever it takes. I think a lot of times men give up so easily because they've had children, sometimes with women that that bitter or vindictive sometimes towards them, won't use the kids as tools against them, something like that. I think, and so a lot of times men give up because of that. And I just think, the position of the man in the household or in the family or in the lives of their children and the people they're with is so extremely important. And if we stand as men and stand as kings, then we will do whatever it takes to make sure that we harvest
Hmm.
good fruit and the children will be there.
So,
Something happened that you all disappeared on the live. I'm just trying to watch on Facebook. Hold on one second. Okay, looks like you're back. Fantastic. Okay. So what's the most important lesson, Richard, that your dad, talk to us a little bit about your dad, and what's the most important lesson that you learned from him?
Man, my dad, my dad, his goal was to teach me everything. And, and there's some things there's some things he didn't know to teach me, but everything that he knew to teach me, man, my dad taught me. He taught me how to shoot. He taught me how to hunt. He taught me how to fish. He taught me how to my dad was like, I'm going to teach you every single thing you need to do to make sure that you provide for your family. He said, and I think back now, like how much more powerful it was that my dad never. I don't ever remember him saying, I'm teaching you what you need to do to survive. He taught me what I need to do to live and provide for my family. He was like, I remember my dad, like one day he was like, all right, we had done the shooting. I started out with BB guns and moved up to pellet guns and moved up to 22 rifles, like, so I could learn how to hunt. He was like, you ever need to eat, we ate raccoons. We ate the squirrel in the front yard. We ate the thing on Cheddar Tree. He wanted to teach me like how I could live off the absolute land if I had to. He was like, you ever get really hungry, go down to Belle Isle. I know it's illegal, but you shoot you one of them deer and you take it back. My dad, it was even a time when he was like, all right. Like my dad was like, all right, not it's garbage can. He said, you never know what situation you're in. He said, so this is what you got to do if you need to ever eat at the trash can. And my dad taught me how to eat at the trash. My dad, he would just come up with like such like random information. If you ever get attacked by a pit bull, this is what you should do. If you ever get attacked by a bear, this is what you should do. Like he taught me how to fight. I mean, he taught me how to hustle. I mean, my dad taught me so many things about. So that's why, like, as a man, like I can do electrical, I can do plumbing, I can work on my car, I can build something if I need to. I engineer. Like my dad was a master mechanic. My dad was a mathematical engineer. My dad passed all that stuff down to me. And so that was my dad. My dad unfortunately passed away, when I was a very, very young adult. But my dad had taught me so much that, everything I know and everything I did is just built upon that.
Yeah. And any of those things that he taught you, like building stuff and fixing stuff, have you tried to teach your girls that stuff?
Kind of. My girls are girly. They not as much. They don't know as much of that stuff as I for them to. Cause, and I think since, part of the problem was since being a dad since I was kind of raising them, by myself, for the most part, in their teenage years, it was always like I didn't want them to be boyish, so I still wanted to be girly, but I didn't know how to teach them to be girly, so it was always trying to like that battle with how much do I show, how much do I teach them, because I remember even one time I asked my girls, I'm like, hey, y'all want to go learn how to shoot guns? And my youngest was like, yeah, I do. I'm like, nah, that's too excited. Like you too excited about it. We got to wait a little bit longer. Because when they were younger, I told them, I said, all right, I'm gonna teach you how to some self-defense moves. I said, you can't use these at school. This is just to protect yourself. And the very next day, I get a call from the school. One of my kids had used it on one of the kids. About an hour later, I get another phone call because the other kid had tried something on one of those kids. I'm like, oh my God, like both kids walked into school and immediately beat up a kid. Like, so it was like always that balance of trying to like, how much do you teach them?
Right.
You know, and how much you don't, you know?
And Ernest, I wanted to ask you the same thing about your dad. I'm trying to make sure he is being shown in the stream, because it looks, when I'm watching on a different screen, I'm not seeing Ernest in the middle. So those of you that are watching, give me some likes and loves if you can see Ernest in the middle. He's got these beautiful girls. I want to make sure you all see him if you're just joining us. Thank you, Tasha Green and Taj Crown and J. Gerald Harvey, our senior associate producer, Jan Holmes Boyd, Marilyn Nelson Hamilton, Kim Wilson. Thank you all for joining. Sandra Beavers, thank you for joining us. We're in a Father's Day celebration. We had Cheryl Tucker O'Neill and Ivo Jackson with us, and now two entrepreneurs. We have Richard Dickey Mason and Ernest Sisson Jr. Ernest, I'm going to ask you, what are some of the things your dad taught you? Because you seem to be very industrious. You know, the hardwood finishing floor business looks like it's doing great. The photography business. What are the kind of things that your dad taught you? And are these things that you're going to want to teach your girls, even though they're girls?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everything from carpentry. Not too much. We dipped and dabbled in cars. Other than, I mean, yeah, pretty much everything, like the fishing thing, how to fix a bike, that you know, just the regular stuff when you're just out in the yard, cutting grass, that kind of stuff. So, as far as my girls, I take them to my job sites every once in a while. Like if we're finishing up, I'll let them ride with me so they can see what I do on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
Photography wise, same thing. They love taking pictures now. So once they get high school, whatever, they want a small summer job or whatever, then they got it. So,
Okay.
but yeah, they pretty much know what I know.
Okay.
I teach pretty much everything I got going on. So.
Okay. And I think the viewers are telling me they cannot see you, Ernest. So I think I'm going to have you go out and come back in. I just want to make sure that I'm getting you on the screen, because I don't see you either. I see you in the platform, but I don't see you on Facebook Live. I'm trying to fix that. See if we can fix that. Okay. Richard Dickey Mason. Now, one of your daughters, Dickey Mason, you know, I'm always put both names in there. One of your daughters is in the business. How do you feel about her being, I mean, she's beautiful, which must mean that your wife was beautiful. But how do you feel about her being in the business? How do you feel about, whatever you've experienced in the business? How do you feel about her being part of the business?
So it's cool. So both of my girls are in.
Oh, okay. Didn't know that.
They're very talented songwriters. Yeah, they're very, very. Both girls are very, very talented. It's I'm gonna say it's a weird thing. It's a great thing, but what's weird about it is, I went about things like differently. I went and got electrical degree, then I got an associate's degree, then I got my bachelor's degree, then I got my master's degree, then I got a post-grad degree. Like I went through the education route, right? Worked at corporate America for beyond 15 years, but I worked at General Motors for 15 years. I did the corporate America, did the education, and then eventually I left to pursue a dream. So prior to me wanted my girls, of course, to get in, go qualify, get to a great college, go off, find them a great career. But then when I switched and started pursuing like my own passions, my own passions in acting and business and stuff like that, the girls kind of took more of that approach to pursue their dream. Mm-hmm. And so I'm torn, because I still want them to, I want them to pursue, get their education, stuff like that, make sure that they have something that they always can stand on. But I applaud them for pursuing their dreams now and not waiting 20 years into the system before they're doing it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I want them to be able to have that balance where they still do, where they get their education, but they still put it all into their dreams too. so that they once again have something they could fall back on, but also have something that that they're living bigger than what they see. So living for a dream, man, it's not an easy road to take. So I applaud them for deciding to do that now, and I support them 100%. They're super talented, so I very, very, very much support them in their endeavors of trying to be in the entertainment industry also.
Okay. And before I switch the two of you out, I really appreciate your taking the time from your Father's Day to spend with us here on Love and Stuff. You are outstanding fathers, from my estimation, for whatever that means. But it seems like you're outstanding fathers in part because you had outstanding fathers. And I think that's key. I think we are the best of ourselves when we can see others being the best of themselves. And so while I know fatherhood or fathers are not perfect, I think that you're doing a great job rearing the girls that you have. And I certainly hope that they understand and know blessed they are. We're in a world, though, in unprecedented times. How do you feel about the world that they are inheriting, the world that you are giving to your daughters? I mean, not you only, but the world that they are inheriting is filled with people who are no longer afraid to say that they're racist, filled with pandemics that, people aren't getting the kind of resources and care that they need to overcome pandemics. How do you feel about this world that your daughters are inheriting and the mix of young men that might be available to them as husbands and fathers to your grandchildren?
That's two different conversations. Like you merge it all in as if it's one. The dudes that
it could be a lot of conversations, but yes.
Well, these dudes that exist now are just, I don't know. They're manufactured differently than I'm used to. So that's my biggest worry when you don't really want your girls to come home with any dude, because I don't know, just any dude being good enough. I don't know. They're just made different. But going to the other conversation about I think surprisingly, I will admit I was one of the parents that was like, man, I don't know what the world gonna be like with this generation that's coming up. But man, this generation is showing that they're about to change the way we live, the way this world operates and exists. This generation is about to make a major impact on the world in which we live in. Mm-hmm. I think it's pretty amazing. Mm-hmm. They about to do way more than we ever did in our generation.
Okay. All right. Ernest, what about you? How do you feel about this world that you will hand to your daughters and world, though part of the world conversation, right, is family and husbands, right? It's almost of an old time where we would have groomed the young men and almost offered them to our daughters, right? There are cultures that do that, right? They assist in the grooming of that young man because they want to make sure he's fit for the daughter. That's part of the world that you will hand to them. So how do you feel about, especially since your daughters are younger and you're going to have another daughter, Serenity is soon to come. How do you feel about the world that they're going to inherit?
I'm a little afraid of what's going on and where the direction is going, but at the same time, like you said, it seems like women and young ladies are a little bit, they're more awake now. They seem more woke, as they say, as far as what's going on with these guys. But other than that, I mean, I think there's going to be it's a good and a bad. I don't know. It's kind of hard to touch on because every day is so. Every day, everything's just shifting so fast. So it's just it's hard to say. It's hard to say. Okay. But I think they'll be okay.
I'm glad I get to be the only one on that question, Ernest.
It's
I will imagine it is hard to say, but the reality is the world that we are in now might not have been the world we would have envisioned to hand to the next generation. So it's a
yeah,
real concern. It's a real
yeah,
concern. And I want to,
absolutely.
before we go, I want to ask your daughter, Dickie, what does she think about the world that she's inheriting? What does she think about it?
I would say at first I was scared and kind of panicking a little bit, especially when everyone was going crazy at the stores, buying all the groceries, and like I don't know, people just didn't know what was going to happen next. But being able to talk to other young people like myself, we're really just like in the time of strategizing on how we can really make a difference. So I'm glad to finally see some form of unity within the community, honestly. And a lot of people are standing up and standing in what they believe in. I feel like it's finally that time to do that. And a lot of young people are afraid to speak up. So I feel like it's good that other people that are younger making that choice to not be afraid and stand up for what they believe in, because it's pushing other people to do the same thing. So it's definitely pushed me. I'm definitely motivated for the future. All I can think of is like positive from here on out. I don't want to think about anything negative. I just hope that things get better, and I hope that people continue to stay safe and sanitize, and protect your family, and just don't live life in fear. If you want to do something, go and do it. Just stay safe and protect the people around you. Yeah.
That sounds great. I think having young people like you who have thought about that will make some of us sleep more comfortably at night. I think I'm really concerned about the next generation and the world that they are inheriting and what they will do, whether or not they're up to the task of taking leadership.
And I do feel like a lot of us are realizing that we don't really have the choice not to speak up. The next generation is relying on our actions and what we do today. So, we're all thinking about that. We're thinking about our generation, kids that we want to have in the future, and what life is going to look like for them. So that's why we're working hard as well to try to create something better for our generation. So it's kind of like generation after generation. But I definitely feel like young people now are definitely stepping up. Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, Ernest, thank you. And Dickie, thank you. Thank you all and your beautiful daughters for joining us on this Father's Day tribute. Again, I think you guys are outstanding dads and you have beautiful girls. Enjoy your day. I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So we'll get Cheryl and Ivo back in. Thank you, gentlemen. Bye. Such beautiful girls, both of them have. And as you heard Ernest say, he will have another daughter, Serenity. And so congratulations to him for his daughter, Serenity, coming soon. If you'd like to give your on-the-spot tribute, please come live with us. I'm bringing back Cheryl Swacker Conneal to continue her tribute to Arliss Skip Swacker, who is a survivor. We're thankful for that. And Ivo Jackson will be joining us soon. So Cheryl, let me ask you this. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to I wanted to get both the dad, daughter, and daughter, dad kind of viewpoint, if you will. And one of the things Richard was saying, his girls had no interest in learning the things that he wanted to really teach them. They're girly girls. Are you and your sisters girly girls? Because you're all girls too, right?
We're all girls, yes.
And so are you a girly girl? Did your dad try to teach you to fix things? Because Richard likes to fix things, build things, with an engineer background. And his daughters are like, no, thanks. You do that. So did your dad try to teach you things to be a fixer-upper kind of person, or did he just recognize, okay, I got girls?
I think somewhere in the middle. My dad didn't try to teach us how to fix things mechanically, but low-key, we would be a little nervous if he took it upon himself to fix things, because my dad would, I think maybe because he had all girls, it was the personal challenge of, I'm the dad, I'm the fixer.
Okay.
So sometimes we would learn to fix things on our own, mechanical and emotional, because we had to get involved.
Got it.
Because we, sometimes it may come out better and sometimes maybe not so much. So we kind of learned from a posture of efficiency how to fix things.
Okay.
All of us can do some things mechanical, but not a whole lot. But we're okay with that. We just have learned from my dad how to budget well. So if we can't fix it, we can pay for somebody who can.
Got it. And so let me ask this question, or hear your answer to the question that I asked earlier. I'm wondering, what's the most important or greatest lesson that your dad has taught to you?
I went through, I don't know if you recall that I did a Daddy-Daughter Chronicle, a Facebook Daddy-Daughter Chronicles tribute.
Okay.
And spent like 2 years ago, 2018. And I just got finished rereading them because I saved them. And I said, wow, these are all over the place. What am I going to say when Marcus asks this question? But I think that in them being all over the place, the bottom line is my dad always taught us to be excellent. Not perfect, not necessarily perfect, but be excellent. In thinking about some of our more erratic engagements, a lot of times, we felt like we were getting fussed at about everything, My dad tended to be fussy, but it became, retrospectively, my dad believes in excellence. He's still, he's just retiring, following his COVID from DJing. And he believes in excellence. And whenever we kind of half did anything, then he would light up. Now, with that retrospective perspective on excellence, I say excellent and not perfect. And what I have in my adulthood tried to do is to affirm my dad's parenting, to let him know that he probably did better than he thought. The feeling of needing to be excellent sometimes I think put pressure on us because he was trying to be this good dad. But at the end of the day, the old people, as the old people say, and later grown up generations say, we turned out all right. But we still, all of us, all three of my sisters, we still in our own respective careers and in our entrepreneurial endeavors, because we all kind of have our own little hustles going, is we still embody a level of excellence, and that comes from our dad.
And Ivo, I want to ask you that same question. What's the most important lesson that you have learned from your dad? Okay. And did your dad, I was sharing earlier, Richard Mason said, his dad taught him how to fix everything, build everything. Did your dad try to teach you any of those things that might be more traditionally thought of things that a man might do? Mm, mm, mhm, mhm, mm, mhm. Yeah, yeah. Mm, 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 mhm, mhm. And I'm hearing kind of a thread through all four of you that I've talked about. Your dads had some hustle in them, and that hustle has been handed down to you. And so, how much of that entrepreneurial spirit do you recognize and then attribute to your dads? Because I think I've heard all four of you. Ernest didn't say as much about it, but Ernest is quite a hustler, and inherited that to some degree. How important is that? Do you think that was to your journey in entrepreneurship? I heard Ernest say things like his dad said, "Never give up," and then Richard said the same thing, "Don't stop." And then Richard's daughter said, "My dad says never give up." So how has that really impacted your journey? Because both of you have hustles on hustles on hustles. So like it's really like a dad hustle tribute and ode to the hustlers, the OG hustlers, because everybody kind of had that hustle. So how has that impacted this spirit of entrepreneurship, which I think is important in this day and time?
Um,
So
yeah,
someone
I'll
was
go
telling me
first.
in the comments that they can't hear Ivo or see her. I don't know what is happening. It's Father's Day. Come on, Restream. Work with me. Okay, while I'm
Um,
working on that, Ivo, yes, please let Cheryl go first because I'm trying to work on it so that they can see you and hear you. They're saying I can't hear this guest, I can't see her. Okay.
well, we come from a long line of hustlers. My great grandparents, they had their own little things, and at the time, they didn't make a whole lot of money, and so by necessity, the hustle was very important. Um, my granddaddy hustled. I can't even tell y'all what my granddaddy did because it wasn't no legal hustle, but it got he did what he had to do.
Okay.
Um, and my dad did too. My dad was the sole breadwinner. And I think that made the major impact in my observation. My dad was the sole breadwinner. My mom was in the household with us, but she didn't work until I went to middle school, I think. And up to that point, my dad would fuss about money if we needed stuff and all that, but in the end, we'd always get what we needed. Not always. We weren't raised to need a whole lot of stuff, and I didn't raise my daughter that way either. In part because I was the sole breadwinner, and so you can't have everything you want. You learn that in that kind of experience, but I think also one of the things that I have learned about hustling is you do what you have to do first and foremost. And observing that with a dad who's the sole breadwinner, you definitely pick up on that. But you also, if hustling were the game, if you will, make sure that you're hustling and do something that you really like. Because you don't mind doing the work. It's a lot of work to do something on the side. And it has to be something that you absolutely enjoy. For my dad was a salesperson, but my dad was also a DJ on the side. For me, I'm in HR, been in HR all my most of my career, and but I like the entrepreneurial aspect of beauty and baking, especially the baking. You have to know, and I think I did learn that from my dad because even now, while he's saying he's retiring from the bars and clubs type of DJing, I know that the desire to play is not gonna leave him. So
Mhm.
that's the two things that I learned, and I think that that is a constant thread in all of us that you do what you have to do, and please find something that you love to do
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
go for it.
Mhm. Okay. And Ivo, we're going to try you again. Now okay, now okay, let's go. Let's see. Mhm. 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 I was going to say, yeah, you're describing yourself as you describe your dad. You're very outspoken, and I could see where some traditional structures might not be the best match for who Ivo Jackson is and has evolved to be. So I could see that very much. And so, mhm, got you, got, got you. And have you both handed that down to your children? Because both of you are parents now. So have you handed that some of that hustle down to them? Or do you think that hustle's really not handed down? It is observed and it just becomes a part of you. Does it just become a part of you because it's what you've watched and you've seen some level of success with your parents and sure in your case your grandparents and your generations before. So is it something that you really just adapt to? It's a way of living, or is it really something that you adopt? And is it something that you hope to hand down to your children? A lot of questions packed in there, right?
Yeah, I think you adopt and adapt.
Okay.
Um, Remember, my observation is my dad was a sole breadwinner, so
Mhm.
I understood why there was a need for additional resources, especially as I got older, needing those additional resources. But in coming to find out what I love to do, um, I think that has been also a part of that adapting, adopting.
Mhm.
That I realized that my dad needed a hustle, would have had to need a hustle with 3 daughters, like a year and a half apart. So, um, and a wife, trying to do all of that on a commission. He was a salesperson. So, his money came based on how he hustled, even in his professional work. But I have adapted that I want to make sure that I'm doing something that I love, because the baking started with me struggling to meet a budget and it clicking that, wait a minute, Woolworth, back then we had Woolworth. Woolworth and Kmart sells cookies. I can sell cookies. And that's how that started for me, that, okay, just bake some cookies and take them. Let's see. And that's what it became. And then I realized how much I love that aspect. My daughter does some hustling herself,
Mm-hmm.
but she doesn't do it as like we have done it, where we have literally launched businesses. But she has things that she loves to do. And when people find out that you love to do something, then a lot of times they'll pay you to do it for them. And so from occasionally she cooks. She'll do meal prepping. She's an Uber driver.
Mm-hmm.
And she has waitressed and bartended. So, and she is a property manager and property and finance manager in that world. But when she has a goal, my daughter loves to travel, and she likes what she likes. So whenever she needs money, then the hustle game is real strong. But it is the adopting of, you do what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
But the adapting is, I do see where she does things as favors, and even my nieces, my sisters, and my nieces do a lot of little things on the side, and it's just because as they showcase what they love to do, that's the adapting to do what you love, and there's somebody that wants it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
and you make
And Ivor, you have smaller children, but do you think, are they seeing your hustle lifestyle? And do you see any of the impacts of that hustle lifestyle on them? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's some good stuff. Um, that's okay. It might be a call from the hustle. Who knows? It might be a call from the hustle. Yeah. And so I want to ask you a question similar to what I asked the fellas when they were on. I asked them, um, because there are so many fathers that are not present in the lives of their children, in the lives of their daughters. What do you think the absence of a father might do to a daughter? What would you say to fathers who are not connected to their daughters about how impactful their presence, their hustle, their constitution could be to those daughters as it has been to you? I would suspect that you would tell us your father's presence has been precious to the development of your life. And so what would you say to a father who's still in the land of the living, but something went wrong in the navigation and he and that uh, child's mom, or for some reason he's not in that life of that girl? What would you say to him about being, how impactful having your father is to a daughter? Okay. All right. And Cheryl?
Oh, fathers are very important, critical to the every aspect of development of a person. I was blessed to have my dad in the house until I was a teenager, but those teenage years, the most critical years, my dad was no longer there. He was no longer in the household, and that was a difficult season for me because of his absence. And then I parented single. She's fully grown. But it was a challenge for me to work on keeping her as whole as I knew to make her. And they still don't have a good relationship, unfortunately. And she's 31. But dads are very important as it relates to daughters. And we get our identity, as Ivo said, we get our sense of self-confidence and self-esteem, especially. And when your daddy chooses you, it affirms something in you that you are acceptable. Without overstating too much, I have noticed patterns and I have noticed behaviors in my daughter's dating behaviors. Nothing outrageous or anything, but just in terms of selection and choice and how she even approaches a dating experience. And I think a lot of that had to do with the absence of her dad. That if daddy is not choosing you, then what makes me choosable becomes a really critical experience for especially our girls as it relates to going into their own relationships with men, because they don't have any point of what makes me acceptable. And I think that that if I could talk to daddies everywhere, that's what I would tell them, that you need to make sure that your boys and your girls, but definitely from a woman, you need to make sure that your girls know that they are choosable and that you choose them first.
And Cheryl, I really, I don't want to overspeak it either, because Love and Stuff it's meager following and community of wonderful people, but I think you are speaking to daddies everywhere. You and Ivo, and to Ernest and Richard, you are. And for them to see well-adjusted women and go-getter women and young women who love and adore and have affections for their dad and yet be well-centered, I think it speaks well to fathers who have been absent to see this is what you want your daughter to turn out to be. You want your daughter to turn out to be like Cheryl and get these hustles going and human resources. And like Ivo, who has said, I'm going to blaze my own trail. And like Richard's daughters, who are both actresses following after him, and Ernest's daughters just adore him. I think it's important that dads do see that, because they need to understand not only are you missing the space, you're missing the role to help these women develop and get their footing in a world where their footing is going to be so important, because there are so many choices and many opportunities to go down paths that might lead them away from the trajectory that we want for women to be. So I was pleased that it shook out kind of to have all of these daughter-daddy relationships, because I think if women feel that they are acceptable, then they will hold men to a higher level, because you are the prize that the man wants. But if you don't know that you're a prize, we'll discount you every time. And I tell Autumn that all the time. If you don't know that you are a prize, a man will discount you every time. But when you let him know that you are a prize, he starts to value you at a different level. And so the prize is put on the shelf a certain way. The prize is packaged a certain way. And you get that packaging from your dad. That dad tells you, okay, this is what packaging is, and you're beautiful. And beautiful from a dad means something different than beautiful from a mom. And I don't discount any moms. I think I had the best one in the world, as everybody will say that, right? But dads tell you about your mortal self, and you are going to believe that about your mortal self, and it is how you will package yourself. So when you said, it speaks to your confidence, you're absolutely right. It speaks to your being worthy or acceptable. You're absolutely right. And I think it's important that dads hear that, because maybe that will shift it for just one dad, if we can do that today. If his reconnected or reunited presence is for his role to be reestablished, to help that woman find her footing, Because there are women that are 50 that don't have their footing. And there are women that are 22 that don't have their footing. And so just to be re-engaged with their dad tells them something about what you say. I love the way you said it, that they are chosen, that he chooses you. I think you can still be chosen at 50, and there's still some women waiting around to be chosen at 50 because that dad was absent. And so in speaking to these dads today, I think you are speaking to daddies everywhere. And that's why I wanted to come on Love and Stuff on Father's Day. It's a tough day for me personally, but I wanted to come on Father's Day just in the hopes that if a dad clicks on this and happens to see, and he's not connected to his daughters or to his sons, which I think is a whole nother show we have to do. That's why I tried to separate them a little bit. You can only do so much in the span of an hour and a half, but it's important that we have these conversations that a dad might pass through, and it might just awaken him a moment and say, you know, what would it be for me to pick up the phone and call my daughter and say, you know what, I haven't been around, that wasn't right, I'm not perfect, or however he feels that he wants to say that, but here I am now. What can I do to reconnect to you so we can move forward so that I can be whole and you can be whole? Because for me, being an uncle dad, it fills me up to see Autumn living her life and living out the things, graduating from U of M, though she didn't choose U of M. It chose her with the scholarship. She wanted to go to a historically Black college, and she may have the chance to do that for law school. But knowing that she went to one of these top schools and got a good education fills me up. And to see who she's becoming as a young woman solidifies my role, if you will, in this world. So it helps me get my footing. It's not just been for her to get footing, it's helped me to get mine. And so if I could communicate that to one dad to say, boy, you don't know what you're missing in being there. You don't know what you're missing to be a cheerleader dad. No, I didn't think that I wanted to be a cheerleader dad, but I was out in those stands cheering. They were like, boy, you out there? I said, yeah, because my baby's on the field and she's cheering so that her team can win. And I can recount those times of being there, and she never forgets those moments of me being there and says, hey, when I have children, I'm going to be there for my children because it's what she's seen. And that fills me up. And I wouldn't want any dad to miss out on any of that. And so, because I think it has helped to firm up for her who she is and some of the choices that she makes. You know, I'm a dad, so there's never going to be a guy that's going to be good enough. But in some of the choices that she makes, I see that she thinks about the people that she spends time with and who she allows into her space. So I think you're speaking to daddies everywhere. And I feel like we've accomplished that goal today with Cheryl and with Ivo and with Richard and with Ernest. It's a great thing to celebrate fathers, and especially, you know, fathers that have gone on. That is special to my heart, of course. My dad has been gone for 11 years, and today it feels like year number 1, really. But to know, Cheryl, that your dad is still here is hope for others whose dads are still here to reconnect and have that relationship, to enjoy that relationship. I saw one of your posts. I took the picture from it, Cheryl, for our clip that I'm going to end with. And you said, I can't wait to us get back on the floor. You know, what it would be if other people had that relationship with their dads, that they wanted to dance with their dads and have fun with their dads. Some people have never had that relationship. And so if one dad can say, hey, I want to be what Cheryl's dad, Skip, is to her. I want to take my daughter dancing. If just one dad did that, think of the power of that to him and his daughter. And think of, you know how daughters are, at least the ones I know. They brag on their dads if they got great dads. And so it impacts the people in their circle and ups the game of dads and daughters that are in their circle to increase the amount of relationship. And so that's what I hope that we will accomplish. And I hope that we will share the content widely. I think it's been a great hour and a half. I'm so thankful that you all have the time. Please tell your dad, Skip, that we love and are happy that he is doing so well. Ivo always was thankful for your dad, like a second dad to me. And I called him dad, as you know, and he called me son. And, you know, he would tell me, you can do that, but that might not work. That was one of his sayings to me. He said, well, you can say it that way, but they might not receive it. And or he said, you can do it that way, but it might not work. But go ahead and try it if you want to try it. but then let's come back and talk about it if it doesn't work. And that was one of the things I loved about him, because he could be outspoken, but he was soft spoken about being outspoken. He said, you can say it loud, but that might not work. So just say it soft. Let it land on them for a minute, and then just stand there and don't say anything, and let them feel the awkward silence. He would tell me, let them feel the awkward silence. Say what you're going to say, and just stand there and look at it. And gaze the audience and see who is it resonating with. Then go after that person, and then start to have your debate with that person. And you can elevate your voice, but that might not work. He always would tell me, you can try something, but be willing to back off of something that doesn't work. So I remember those things, Ivo. I've never forgotten those things. I'm in negotiations, because I have the tendency, if I'm excited, I'm going to raise my voice. But I will sometimes say, okay, now Lonnie Thomas is upon me, and I'm just going to say it. I'm going to say it, what I'm going to say. I'm going to switch the words around and say it, and then I'm going to be silent and see if it resonates in the room. So all of those great things from dads and fathers and surrogate fathers and leaders of men have helped us to all know that we are worthy, we are accepted, and we are chosen. And if you want that for anybody else in life, if you are a father or father figure, be called today to stand in that space and let that person know, that son, that daughter, that surrogate son or daughter, that they have been chosen, and that they are worthy of your love. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you both. I appreciate all four of you. I'm sorry I couldn't bring all four of you on the screen at once, but we had some challenges, and so I appreciate that. Let me just double back to the comments real quick. I see Andrew Jerome Crawford has joined us. Thank you, sir. Corey Reed. Arnaldo Jimenez has joined us. Thank you, sir. Valencia Etner. Absolutely. When dad does not choose you, you come to expect rejection. Wow, that's powerful. That's powerful. You come to expect rejection. Wow, that's powerful. Yeah, we probably will have some more discussions, because I think there are, tons of opportunities, and I'm always thinking about these opportunities as I want to take Love and Stuff on the road. And maybe I'll have Ivo join us, Cheryl, but I've been saying I'm taking Cheryl on the road, I'm taking Valencia on the road, I'm taking Tabitha on the road, because there are just so many ideas about how we can awaken this love in people. And I believe a big shift of it is if we can awaken some women. Now, I'm for awakening the brothers, don't get me wrong. But if a woman tells a brother, this is the standard, and he really sees her as something of value, that's it. I've seen wives shut their husbands down with just turning to him and looking at him and not saying a word, because he knows that she's got the prize of what he wants, and he wants peace in his life. And when I was younger, I'd be like, he's not going to say that, and he's just going to let her shut him down. And the older men would laugh at me and said, you don't know nothing about that. You don't know nothing about that. Just wait. You don't know nothing about it. You think you know something. Because they knew that sister, that mother, had the power to shut down the community. If we instill that power in our girls, it'll change how our boys approach them. It'll change how our men know, I can get over on you. It'll change. And so that's why I want to take the sisters on the road. I got brothers that want to go on the road. I know Jay Gerald, our senior associate producer, is probably going wild wherever he is. He's like, wait, the brothers got to go. Yes, the brothers are going. But I just think that one of our good tactics of awakening people with love are the sisters, because you're more emotionally connected and more emotionally aware. And if we can leverage that, we can make a difference among this worthiness issue, which I think is one of the prevailing issues in our society. I think racism is about worthiness. It's about a group who thinks that they have supremacy, thinking that we are not worthy. It's a worthiness issue to me. But thank you so much. All right, I'm going to play this closing clip. I hope it goes well. I hope that you can see it. I'm going to try my best. Come on. Okay, let's see. Did- All right, I'm trying my best to show you this small clip of pictures that we have done of some of our guests, and I hope that I can open it for you right now. There's no business like show business, I can tell you that. And let's hope best. All right. Well, as I'm trying to show that, again, I want to thank our guest. We had expected a couple of others to join us. Okay, looks like it's trying to show. Thank you for hanging in there through these technical challenges that we're experiencing. I think I got it. Let's hope so. That's so that was our Love and Stuff tribute to fathers. And I am just thankful that you have joined us. I hope you will share this content widely. Again, I appreciate our guests who have joined us: Cheryl Slacker Conneal, Ivo Jackson, Ernest Sisson Jr., and Richard Dickey Mason. I appreciate all of you and your beautiful daughters, Richard and Ernest, who joined us as well. I hope that you will have a wonderful Father's Day. I had a wonderful father I certainly was not a perfect son. He was a not a perfect father, but I loved him and he loved me. And I think that oftentimes when people, especially in my family, say, "Oh, that's something that I do," they say, "Oh, that's something." There are things that he taught me, among them that I will share. That he always believed in being clean and neat, and he would tell me, especially when I was a little boy, I had a head full of hair. Maybe I'll put a picture up one day. And my mother would plait, she would do braids, if any of you know what plaits are. And each morning she would pick it out and I'd have this big afro. And if it wasn't just combed out right, my dad would say, "I'm going to take you in the basement and cut your hair. Because when you go out there, who you represent?" I say, "You." He says, "Yes, you are our homes. And homes are clean and they are smart. And you are as smart as anybody in this world. And just like them, you put your pants on one leg at a time. But before you put your pants on, what you're going to do? Wash your tail, wash your face, comb your hair. You might not have the most expensive clothes on, but they will be neat and clean." And that I thought would go with me forever. I thought when I got older, I'd say, "Well, I don't have to be neat and clean." But by the time I got older, it was ingrained in me that I represented the homes, that wherever I went, I was a homes, and that I was supposed to be neat, smart, and clean. One of many things that I can think of that my dad always taught, and I will leave you with this memory of him. One of his sisters, and he adored his sisters. He was the second youngest of 13, and he had some sisters, older sisters, that he absolutely adored. And one of them was Sadie. My Aunt Sadie came from Mississippi to visit, and I thought that the Pope was coming on Santa Barbara to visit. And he cleaned the house from top to bottom. And this is a man who cleaned the house every day. That I didn't inherit from him. He cleaned the house every day. And I thought, "Why are you cleaning every day?" He said, "If you clean a little bit every day, you never have to clean a lot." I just did not want to subscribe to that. But he did an extra deep cleaning this time. I thought, "Who's coming?" And my mom said, "Your Aunt Sadie's coming." And she came and, hugged and kissed me all over my face. I'll never forget that. And she said, "You remind me of your dad." And I said, "Oh, okay." And my brother Stephen sat on the piano, bless his memory, and started to play. And my dad started to sing. Now, I had heard my dad hum around the house. As a matter of fact, I have vivid memories of him humming and singing to Martha Jean the Queen Steinberg, bless her memory, listening to blues throughout the afternoon. But I'd never really heard him sing. And my dad started singing, "How Great Thou Art." And I looked at him and he says, "What?" I said, "Daddy, I never knew that you could sing." And he smiled and said, "Where do you think you got it from?" And we laughed about that for years and years and years. Years and years and years. And those are memories that I will always remember. And I invite you to relive those great memories today. Even if you are like me and your dad is no longer in this earth school. And even if you're like me and you're feeling like you're at ground zero on Father's Day. I invite you to relive and recount and reflect on the memories that brought you joy, love, and peace. Happy Father's Day.